My name's Shonda, and I produce and perform under the name Trovarsi. I've used various setups, including hybrid setups and modular, and today I am using all noise engineering in this skiff. I'm going to take you through my patch. Just to get it started, I have a trigger input coming from the clock generator into the BIA, which is my main voice. Now just talk about a clock really quick. The clock is the main, it's keeping the tempo of my patch, which today I'm doing, focusing on techno. And if I just pull these out really quick, you can hear that it's pretty fast. And I'm using the clock divider then to send out other pulses to my CV sequencer and sending out a pulse to this buffered mult, which is copying the same exact pulse out, and I'm sending it into my rhythm generator and into the clep diaz as well as the vox digitalis, which is a pitch sequencer. So once I establish a kick to kind of get the tempo going in my patch here, I felt like I needed some sort of percussive element to start to create the groove of it. And I did that with the trigger out actually of the mimetic digitalis, excuse me. And that's sort of insinuating like a hi-hat or some other percussive element. Next, I use one of the outs of the MD into the pitch, and that is giving sort of an undertone of a bass line. So because of the size of the skiff here that I'm using, and I have the two voices, both of these voices has so many inputs to control all of its parameters, I am able to try to maximize each one of them. And because of their dynamic range, I'm able to pull out, say, the kick from the BIA as well as that percussive element and maybe a small bass line. That's what I'm using it for. So in order to, what I was triggering from the clep diaz into this, one of the settings on the BIA, which is right here. If I turn the step on, it's basically just 3 separate settings to give other options of sonic options, I guess, that you might want to use to add to your patch. In this case, I wanted to create more of an acid sound, so that's why I have it set down to the skin setting. So moving on from that, I am then triggering the secondary voice, which is basically where I was getting the leads from. And that's coming out of the mult that's being copied over into the trig input of the Manis. And when I think of techno, I think of hypnotic flow and also spatial awareness of each element. So I don't necessarily want them running over the top of each other. So I'm using the clock generator to be able to to create a call and response. So if you hear where the kick and that is coming in, you'll hear this other voice kind of stepping to another pattern. Maybe those are 8th notes, and the triggering of the fold would be, I guess, like 16th notes. So again, because of the fact that this voice has so many inputs, I am able to pull out other elements by using the pitch. For example, I'm putting input from the output of the vox digitalis input into the Manis, and that's where it's kind of stepping through the voltage to create that lead line. And then I'm using the envelope As I open the envelope, you can hear that I'm also triggering it with the MD. And the more I open this, you can hear that, hear it changing versus it's very dry. My main thing I just want to get back and reiterate is that using two voices and the fact that it does have so many inputs, I'm able to use something like the CV sequencer and a rhythmic generator and clock to trigger both of these voices and their inputs to get out to pull out these various sounds that it's creating as opposed to just utilizing it for one sound. So that's where the dynamic element of each of these modules comes into play. There are different modes on them, and you cannot break it. So if you want to experiment and patch and use these inputs and sending in, whether it be a CV sequencer or a clock generator, or the worst thing that could happen is you either get no sound or some crazy sound that you might actually end up liking. So that's the fun thing about modular, is that you can make it your own. Like, you can use these sort of modules, which would be more control sources, to control the inputs of your sound sources, which are the BIA and the Manis. And in controlling that, maybe then you have a processor, like when I'm sending the BIA through this distortion and filter, to give it a little more color to the sound. Thanks for watching. My name is Trovarsi, and thanks Perfect Circuit for having me.